Back in the 90s, it was usually quite easy to identify the material of a frame by its looks. Steel frames generally came with straight and slim tubing, and sometimes even lugs to connect the tubes, whereas aluminum frames had much thicker tubing and often very prominent welding on display. However, none of that is the case for early 90s track frames. You really need to look closely to find differences between the steel 950 single track that we rebuilt last year and the aluminum Track 8000 that we're working on today. Thankfully, Trek was kind enough to label their aluminum frames for us. This little beauty from 1993 has experienced major modifications in the upstairs department and was fitted with super slim tires to match the flight saddle. Anything else below the top tube though is still in factory condition, and yes, the Dior LX XT mismatch was in fact stock on here. I suspect that underneath all the dust, dirt and whatever else is covering it, we may actually have a frame in pretty pristine condition. I'm sure you won't be surprised to hear that we're using a combination of vintage and new components. One of those new parts is our new Bottoncino OG chainring. All the pre-orders have been met, and so this is part of the first official batch, so we might as well use it, right? And this is the crankset that we're mounting it to. Excited to see how it looks on here. I don't use colorful cabling very often, but on this bike I felt like some neon green was just appropriate. I've also chosen to do something a bit unusual on the brake side, where I'm using black V-brakes with silver brake levers. I think this color mismatch is quite important because that way they will blend in much better to the frame and the cockpit. Once we're done, the bike will be for sale on the website, and if you prefer something a little more tailored to your requirements, feel free to head on over to the Build to Order tab, where you can check out our full inventory of vintage bikes, including a ton of specialized frames. In fact, I'm thinking of doing a 3-video series of 80s specialized rebuilds, so let me know if you're interested in that. But once again, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's build a track first. And here it is, all stripped down. Some rust on the steerer tube where the metal was exposed. The bottom bracket also left some rust behind, but it's nothing to do with the frame. Brake buses look pretty decent, or actually look very nice. So yeah, let's get to work. I'll just get these guys out of the way. Does this branding remind you of anything? We'll just leave this to soak for now and continue down here in the fork. Ta-da! little bit of rust here. So you know what time it is. I assume that what we have here, these white spots, I assume that it's paint, like wall paint, so I don't expect it to come off, to be honest. I think we might need a scratch repair paste for that. And this really is the only damage to the paint. And file it down just a little bit. Very carefully. Okay, let's not get too greedy and make it worse. I don't know if the camera picked up any difference there, but in real life, there is a difference. One removed hoodie and several sore fingers later, we're done with these spots here, which only leaves us with the chainstays and the fork to do. So, yay! There's still some of the smaller ones left, but I'm hoping they'll polish out when we use the drill bits, so I don't have to go over all of them. That worked. See if I can find them all again. Got them. And this is looking exactly how it sounded. Overall pretty good, but quite dry. I just skipped over the cleaning part. Everything is now nice and clean. Just need to do a bit of polishing. Get those cranks nice and shiny again. Bars already looking really nice. And then we can put all this on our freshly polished frame. All right, ready for surgery. It's looking really dull now, and I'm sure we're going to get a huge improvement on the surface. Two spacers that were on here I'm definitely using because they match the headset. But the question is if we combine them with a silver or a black one. Stack them up like this. This could work. Let's try the black one just to see. So if we put this at the bottom, it should visually just extend the head tube and the headset. Yeah, like this better. Forgot to do the insides first. I started with a 110 axle, which was too close. Then I went to a 113, which was still too close. So I figured we'll go back to the 110 and mount the chainring on the outside. Yeah, these track frames, they really bulge down here. Don't give you a lot of room. But yeah, it's on, it's working, got room. We can continue. Meanwhile, I've cleaned the wheels, and as the finishing touch, I'm just polishing of the spokes and the rims, and then we can throw the cassette back on and mount these. The cleaning sponges can sometimes leave a bit of a residue, like you see here. That's why I always like to polish over everything as a last step, because it does make a difference. The condition of this wheel set is absolutely insane. You can see that there are basically no wear marks from brake pads on the rims, and the same goes for the cassette. Great condition, so yeah, really happy with that. Spokes are a bit loose and the wheel is also not perfectly centered, so we're doing two things at once. And redishing it slightly to your side. And if you're wondering whether that might just increase the spoke tension on one side and not the other, given that the spokes on this side will pull the rim more towards that side, the tension on the other side will be increased as well. Cool. Always better to make several cuts than to be too optimistic and needing a new cable. But I think now we have it.
It's quite an ambitious turn that the frame is requiring. Yeah, that's how it's going to be. Maybe just a little bit shorter. So chain on the third cog, make that cable nice and taut. Your cable tension should then be pretty good, and you only need to make minor adjustments. I think that's pretty good. This one might actually be a bit long. I mean, how could I not?
Don't know why, but lately I've been feeling this urge to put many of these stickers on bikes. So I kind of thought I was done, but it looks like I have to get to work again on the crankset because something really exciting has just arrived. And while we're making changes, maybe these grips are better, because remember the headset? Thanks for hanging out with me today. If you enjoyed it, subscribing is always an option, and if you don't want to wait until the next video, I suggest you go and watch last year's Trek Single Trek 950 rebuild next.